start all at once.
Okay, good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks
All right.
for the questions.
Not much to talk about visual effects.
Yeah, so
What were some of there's some really cool like one of the things that I found really interesting about video network. So I wanted to know if you talk a little bit about
The Mycelium Network came out of, I mean, obviously it starts with the script, and then from that they started to sort of design things and board it out. And we had conversations with Aaron and Gretchen in production and everything, trying to figure out exactly what this would look like. And I think, you know, once you have the still image in mind, you start to go to work on, okay, now let's put this into a real shot. So we knew sort of what we were going to do. We had storyboards, we had some previs, and then once we actually had the shots, that's when like the rubber meets the road. So then you have to create the asset, you have to put it into the green screen environment, and you have to make sure that it actually looks like it belongs there, which in full green screen can be difficult sometimes. So it's really about trying to make, you know, put those little real world touches on it, whether it's lens flares or dust on the lens or any of that stuff. So
what's one of the more taxing responsibilities going into a project like this?
I think the legacy of the show. You know, I mean, it's one of the biggest shows in the history of television, if not the biggest, and having that responsibility and having a fan base that knows as much about visual effects and knows as much about the history of the show, probably more than I ever could. And having to own up to that and make sure that you don't get those angry emails.
I'm getting stressed out for you, bro. I gotta.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a big responsibility, but it's, you know, we welcome it and we're doing the best that we can. But I think that was when it, you know, when you really get in there and you start going, wow, we just did the Enterprise. You know what I mean? And what that looks like on camera, it's you start to realize the world that you become a part of. So. Wow, that's a tough question. I don't know if there's one. I mean, I'm sort of checking everything off the list. I got to do dinosaurs early in my career, which is pretty cool. I got to do like a fantasy show. Now I'm working on spaceships, so that's pretty sweet. But is there stuff that we want to do more of? I don't know if there is. I mean, I think it's really at this point, visual effects is in a place, in my opinion, where you can do whatever is asked of you, provided that you have the proper resources, right? And so. I welcome the next challenge. Like, okay, you know, how big can the world get? You know what I mean? And in 15, we had some shots where Akiva, the director, like, sort of came up with these massive shots where you start in space and you go down all the way into Paris and then you land and they're talking. I mean, it's a huge shot. And at first we looked at it and we went like, okay, let's get to work. So we started building. You know what I mean? And you start building the Earth and you start building the stuff that's surrounding the Earth, and you build Paris and you build the ships and the shuttles and all that stuff. And pretty soon you have previs and it goes together and you're like, that's the next step. So you just keep pushing, and eventually you get to where it seems like it's final. So. Well, I mean, each shot is a little bit different. That shot is probably one of the larger shots we've done on the show, if not the largest one. And you know, the good part of it is that when you receive the script, it's a long time before things are going to be delivered. So if I know that that's going to stay in the script, and the EPs are great about saying, yes, that'll be in the script or it won't be, so we can actually get going on it right away. So we actually can buy ourselves more time at the head because we know, like, the shot, it may change in length, it may change in this, it's not going away. And so I think to answer your question, it's a little bit about, you know, managing time and sort of bending time, if you will, and saying, like, well, we shouldn't really be working right now, but I think we can because I think it's going to be locked down. And we had a version of that shot we've been working on for months before we got to, like, the last month of delivery.
What were some of the most painful effects that you had to work on this show? And conversely, what were some of the most pleasantly surprising, easiest ones?
I think pleasantly surprising, I would say the full CG shots of the ships. Oddly enough, I mean, I think they're beautiful shots and they look really good, but I also I thought they would be harder. You know, I just thought to get to that point, but, you know, fortunately we have the artists we have working on the show are incredible, and we didn't really have much to have to worry about. As far as painful shots, I don't think there was much that was painful. I'll call it trickiest or challenging. I mean, I would say the most challenging things are the things you don't plan for. You know what I mean? So when you don't expect something and it's something that you have to do on the fly, you have to think on the fly to figure out how to do it.
What happened behind the scenes that you weren't expecting you had to account for?
I don't think anything specific. Like, I don't think there was a big moment, but there was definitely, like, times where we would get in there and somebody would be like, hey, you know what would be cool? and that's like the scariest words you ever hear as a visual effects supervisor. And they'd be like, what'd be cool is if
way to say that it didn't look good.
yeah, or it's like, we just thought it, because part of the process is as much as we plan. Like when you get into the edit, somebody's going to come up with some idea, and it's going to be a great idea, and we didn't plan for it, so we got to get going. And I think some of those ideas where they'd be like, hey, that'd be cool, and then we want the antennas to move a little bit, or just little subtle things like that. I mean, I think those things are definitely, they're not challenging, but you have to look at it from you're walking into it, somebody goes, hey, this has to be a visual effects shot. So it's like, I haven't been thinking about it for months. I'm just now coming to see it. So we got to figure out what we should do. But by and large, I think we got through everything okay. Not too much anxiety at least. So. Well, you know what? I think where computers are in software, like we're in a place where visual effects we're further along than it's ever been, which is cool. The computers are super powerful, which is awesome. You're always going to find the limit, though, always, because somebody's going to come up with something. I mean, you keep thinking like, okay, if it's just a little bit faster, we can do this, and then every time somebody's like, what if we do this? And I'm like, and that's going to take 30 days to render. You know what I mean? So I think you're always going to butt up against technology, not in terms of limitations, but almost in terms of creativity, in terms of like, okay, we have to push the envelope, so we got to figure out a way to render the shot that would normally take days to render. You know what I mean?
What's it like having how many studios are working on the visual effects shots and like kind of range in between like what shots go where, what shots work for one studio working on this aspect of it,
Sure.
and the studio work on another aspect.
I mean, the organizational part of it is something that I think you've set up at the beginning, and then if everything runs well, you don't have to think about it anymore. So like if there's a discovery, then somebody's going to do the discovery because they have that. So you know what I mean? You kind of let them do that, and you don't have to worry about that part of it anymore. So I think it's all about the planning and sort of picking your vendors wisely. And fortunately, I started as a compositor, as an artist, like 20 years ago. Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'm a visual effects compositor.
Oh, cool. Where at?
Currently working at Big Block, but before that I was at Radio, and before that I was
Oh,
at
nice.
Logo.
Oh, nice. I know both those guys. That's great. Yeah, so I started as a comper like 20 years ago. And knowing what it's like on that side and the organizational challenges of wrangling artists and all that stuff kind of helps us. And the people that work with me have also been there as well. So they understand that when it comes to working on shots, like they know the challenges on their end. And so we work with them, and we have good relationship with our vendors. So there's places that we've worked before. Pixamondo is one of the big ones, where we have a relationship. We'll call them up and say, hey, how do we do this? And it's not, it's a more like a family, you know what I mean? Because they will work with us, they help us out, we help them out, we do the best that we can because everybody cares ultimately about what it looks like, so we're always going to get there. Sleeping.
That's always the right.
Sleeping and less anxiety. Now, I mean, I'm just looking forward to what's next. You know what I mean? I'm excited we're getting going again, and to be able to get back up there, and it'll be fun to be on set. It's been a while since I've been on set. There's something really fun about that, and being on set and seeing it through from the outline to the script to the first day on set to the final product. I'm looking forward to seeing that through again. It's a very satisfying experience. Yeah, you definitely start by breaking it down and kind of going like, what is this? What does it look like? What do we need to do this? It may be helpful to previs things if there's something that is a little bit hard to understand, or storyboard it, which can also help a lot. Sometimes a combination of both. So I think, the planning phase for me is like the most important part, because if you have adequate planning, then whatever happens on the day you can react to. And so you always look at it with what kind of shot is that? Is that CG? No, we can do that with an element, or that's got to be CG because of the the way it's animated or something like that. So you definitely do sort of have those conversations early on and figure out how each shot is not only best served in terms of what the story is, but how it's going to look the best visually and serve the story. So. Yeah, we do every episode, for sure. Maybe not the entire episode, but we do every episode for anything that requires it, yeah, for sure. And previs, we do previs almost every time.
What's the favorite episode to work on?
I think the pilot was a blast. Going to Jordan to shoot was an incredible experience. To spend time with all these guys, you know, and go through that experience was fun. The zero G sequence was fun to shoot. Shooting in Toronto was a blast. I think I love the pilot. Episode 6 with Vulcan I really enjoyed just because it was Vulcan. So and we had a blast shooting that, so that was fun. And then I think 15, the finale, was a blast as well, just because it sort of brought you know, things to completion for us in the season and all that. It just felt nice to sort of be there at the end.
Is there any technology that is coming out that you're not able to use right now that you're using in the future? Hoping to use maybe perhaps?
Technology we're hoping to use. I mean, we're always hoping to use all the technology. It's just a question of being able to get access to it. But I don't know if there's anything new coming out. There's a lot of the like facial capture work, facial tracking. There's a program called Eddie that we used this year a little bit to affect the faces, or like, you know, I think Mary alluded to in the panel, put blood on her face when she was getting beat up, and it makes it really, really simple. And so it's always, I think the fun thing is always when you find these software companies who specialize in something. It's a plugin of some sort. It's, you know, some sort of addendum to everything else you're using, and it just slides right into the pipeline, and you can use it for so many things. You know what I mean? So I think we're always looking for different things where it's like, you know, we could fill this gap if we did this, or we can use these guys, and it's kind of exciting. And we have artists, you know, in house that actually go through and will, hey, you know, what do you guys think about this? Or can we use it this way? So we're always on the lookout.
There's a library of pictures that like explosion, that laser stuff.
Yeah, no, you definitely build a library. It depends on how it's being used, right? So like, depending on if the camera's moving too much or there's a perspective change or parallax, you may not be able to use those elements, but you always bank elements because you can always go back and that'll work somewhere, or somebody will go into my shot and go like, hey, that explosion would look good over here, you know what I mean? So, I mean, as a compositor, you know, like you'll go into some other comps and take somebody's explosion or use their scripts. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of those libraries that exist at most vendors now, and they're definitely useful. I mean, you know, there's always times where you can use an atmosphere or some rain or fire or something like that can save you some time for sure. Yeah.
Now, is there a creature or species that you would like to add your touch to?
I mean, the thing is with Glenn and his team, like those guys are so good at what they do that we don't really have to touch much of it. I will say that we like doing creatures, and we did the tardigrade this past season, and then we had a blast with the tardigrade. So, you know, we're always interested in doing some creature work. It's fun to do animation and motion capture and all that different stuff. So, no, that was actually animation based on research from a bunch of different YouTube videos. Oh, awesome! Yeah, that was fun to play with. Cool.
Yeah, no, that's all
Thank you
fun
guys.
questions.
Appreciate it.